Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. We are moving on to the third and final subclass in the Artificer, getting you guys out the newest subclasses for the newest class as soon as possible.
Right.
It's our goal. If you're new
Timely matter.
Yes, if you're new to the channel and to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the subclass abilities, and then we're going to rate the subclass based on its roleplay value, its combat value, and its overall class synergy with the base class.
Right.
Now, how we do the scoring again is how much these abilities are going to improve on the base class.
Yes.
For example, the base Artificer class has lots of RP potential, but our scores are going to already, anticipate you already RPing your backstory and lore and history and how you use your spells, casting, and all of that. It's already included.
Right.
How do the abilities improve on the base class? So, with that, we'll jump straight into the Battle Smith Artificer.
Right. As with all the other Artificer subclasses, you get an extra tool proficiency, this one being Smith's tools, and just like the other ones, if you already have a Smith's tools, you pick something else, so you have all your tool proficiencies because it's what you are. You're an Artificer, you like to tinker with things and make things and fix things. Makes complete sense. Your Battle Smith spells are, it seems, mostly very Paladin-like. A lot of them. There's some powder, some Ranger flair in there. You are a half-caster, after all. With Heroism Shield, you do get both Branding and Banishing Smite. You do get Mass Cure Wounds. Fire Shields, I think, is an underrated and underappreciated spell. I really liked it. We actually looked at it and hadn't really thought about being able to try to figure out what that guy is as much. Wardy Brawn, Conjure Barrage, and both Aura of Vitality, Aura of Purity. So you've got a little bit of buff, support, a little bit of damage stuff, some CC in there, a little bit of everything when it comes to your spells. Right. Battle Ready, the other ability you get when you first pick this subclass at level 3, proficiency with martial weapons, simple enough. And when you attack with a magic weapon, you get to use your intelligence modifier for both your attack and damage rolls instead of your strength or dex. So when you pick this at level 3, you can continue to focus on your intelligence modifier, which means so much for this base class and for even all the subclasses here in with Artificers, keeping your intelligence modifier, getting it up as high as possible. So you can use it as your attacking stat as well. So that's neat.
At level 3, you also get Steel Defender, where you get Pupper.
It's Pupper.
Basically, it shares your initiative count, but takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use reaction on its own, but if you want to have it do anything, you have to use bonus action to command it. Otherwise, it takes the dodge action. Otherwise, you can use bonus action to command it to attack. You use dash, disengage, help, hide, or search actions. You can also cast the Mending spell to heal it for 2d6 hit points. If it dies within the last hour, you can use your Smith's tools as an action to revive it, provided you're within 5 feet of it, and you expend a spell slot of 1 first level or higher. Right. It returns to life after 1 minute, so if it goes down in combat, you're not going to get it back up in combat most likely, with all of its hit points restored, however. Then, at a long rest, you can create a new Steel Defender if you have Smith's tools with you. If you already have one of these pets and you make a new one, well, the old one dies, and the new one is 2.0.
Right.
He is a medium construct, armor class of 15. So its hit points are equal to your constitution. Its constitution modifier, not yours. Sorry. Plus your intelligence modifier. There we go. Plus 5 times your level in the class. Skill proficiency in athletics and perception, saving throws, dex, and con. They're pretty low with plus 4s across the board, except for the dex saving throws plus 3. That being said, it is immune to poisoned, charmed, exhaustion, and immune to poison or damage as well. It has dark vision, of course, and it's low passive perception because but the nice thing is the scaling here. Each time your proficiency bonus increases by 1. There's a couple stats on the Steel Defender that increase as well. That would be the saving throws, the skills, the bonuses to hit and damage, and the number of hit points restored by its repair action, which is another one of its abilities that it can do. Also, it cannot be surprised, so nice little thing there.
Yes.
But its actions that require your bonus action for it to do is an attack, which is just a simple plus 4 to hit, reach 5. And it's 1d8 plus 2 force damage. It's alright for early levels. You'll see that it'll quickly get outscaled because you only increase your proficiency, I think, 4 times total it increases. So it will only ever be a max of plus 8 to hit and 1d8 plus 6 damage. So as you get higher up, it kind of becomes less relevant. But he also has the option to repair, which is going to be to heal 2d8 plus 2 hit points to itself or to one construct or object within 5 feet of it. And also, probably the best thing about Pupper here is the reaction that he has, which is Deflect Attack. He's going to impose disadvantage on an attacker of a creature that is within 5 feet of it, provided the attack rolls against a creature other than itself. So you want Pupper to be next to you, and whenever someone attacks you, the doggy can deflect the attack, give disadvantage to the first attack.
True.
So every turn you're going to get that disadvantage attack. So interesting little helper there. I do appreciate that they actually scaled it, unlike the Ranger, although you don't have options like the Ranger has in Beastmaster, so give and take, I guess. 5, you do get access to extra attack. This is the only subclass in the Artificer that allows you to attack twice with your attack action.
Level 9, you get Arcane Jolt. So once again, you get a couple different uses here, but it's based on your intelligence modifiers. Everything is, in all these subclasses, it's all based on your intelligence modifier. You can deal an extra 2d6 force damage, or heal 2d6 to a target within 30 feet of something you strike. So if you hit it with a weapon, you can either Arcane Jolt them for some extra force damage for 2d6, or you can then actually redirect that. How you know
energy?
Yes, no. But to an ally, either to yourself or to an ally within 30 feet of you. So, nice little freebies, and it doesn't take an extra action or anything. It's just an ability you get to do. Activate 5 times, eventually 5 times a day because it's your intelligence modifier. And it's all on a long rest, so it's not 5 uses per rest. It's 5 uses for the day, so much more sparingly with what you can do with it. And finally, you get Improved Defender at level 15. Extra damage and healing from your Arcane Jolt goes up to 4d6. So instead of 2d6 5 times, you get 4d6 5 times, either from the healing or the extra damage. Your Steel Defender, your friend, gets an extra +2 to its armor class, so 17. But by the time you've hit level 15, that's still not a very great armor class. It's probably like what your light armor people will have at that point. Your barbarians and warlocks and things like that would have that much armor class at that time. And then whenever your Steel Defender uses Deflect Attack, the attacker takes force damage equal to 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier. Once again, intelligence modifier very important here. But it's just an extra little retaliate damage back. It's not much, but every little bit helps, especially when there's no other extra uses. It's not taking up something else to do it. It's just an extra little passive ability or passive buff to ability you already have.
Yes.
Simple enough.
So with that, we'll move straight into the scoring section of everything. First up is the roleplay value. So with the roleplay, like we mentioned, the base class has a lot of RP potential just because of how it functions, and it's just a atypical caster kind of thing where you're casting out of your spell casting tools. If you notice, there's not really a whole lot of RP abilities in this class. In fact, there's pretty much none. So the only thing that is really RP based at all is going to be your Steel Defender, and that's just because it's just an extra companion that follows you around all the time. It does have its Deflect Attack, and it can use the Help action. And Help can give you advantage on skill checks, ability checks. So you do have that option, but that's pretty much it. But because he's around you all the time, he's always there. We decided to give it a little bit more of a bonus, so we decided to go with a 2 for the RP. Again, the base class of Artificer is fantastic for RP, but our scoring is based solely on how the subclass improves the base class. And with it not really having any RP-based abilities, it's really hard to give it too high of a score in this regard.
Onto the combat side of things, where most of the abilities here are based around combat, extra attack. Your Steel Defender being able to give you advantage if it chooses the Help action, does also be able to do some damage itself. The fact that it can't be surprised, you can actually kind of have it be your watchman at night. It does have dark vision, so it can see things. Not a great perception check, but it's better than you having to be asleep all night in a small party and you can't get your long rest in otherwise without being unguarded. Arcane Jolt, once it gets buffed at level 15, being able to have some free damage or free healing either direction is helpful. And once again, your pet being able to deflect attacks away from you and do some extra damage back at them. All helpful abilities, but there's still nothing here overall, in our opinion, that's, what's what I'm looking for, super impactful. It's a bunch of little stuff here, little things here, little things here. There's a bunch of interesting abilities and a very interesting class flavor-wise, but there's not a lot that makes it super powerful on the combat side of things or super even versatile on the combat side of things. It just makes you, give you some options for extra damage here, for free healing here, there. So we went with a 3.5 out of 5 flumps, but it's not going to blow your doors off with combat, but all the abilities are geared toward giving you some more abilities in combat. I mean, your martial weapon proficiency, get in there and smash some face with a friend, and what you do.
I would say too, probably as you get later on in levels, it's kind of an awkward flow, right?
Yeah.
Because early on, the Steel Defender is actually not that bad.
Sure.
But as you get higher, it kind of becomes, you're not going to attack with it all. You're only going to be using it for a deflect attack to try to give you disadvantage on attacks against you,
right.
and have it use help to give you advantage. But there's also some anti-synergy, unfortunately, which we'll explain here in this synergy section a little bit more in detail. But there's some weird things that are in the class design that made us kind of scratch our heads a little bit as to why they would do it this way.
I mean, like with combat-wise, you've got smites, which are technically bonus actions, healing word, bonus action. Your bonus action is taken up by your dog commanding, so you can't use all your spells at the same time as making your dog do what your dog can do.
Yeah.
So there's some conflict there, what you can do with that kind of limits your usage.
Definitely very awkward when you're like, yeah, I can smite, that's cool. But then you're like, wait, but then my dog can't do anything.
There's absolutely nothing.
So yeah, he just stands there and dodges. He can still do his deflect attack, but it just feels kind of weird that they would put smites into a subclass that's so focused on having a pet that requires your bonus action. And with your fire shield, you want to get hit, but then you're giving disadvantage, so they're not going to hit you as much. So it's kind of this weird flow here with the synergy. There's not really a whole lot going on because a lot of the class is based around manipulation of spells, and but you're a half-caster, so there's some kind of weirdness there. Yes, you do. If your doggy dies and you need to revive him wherever, it does take a spell slot, but it suffers some of the same issues as the Beastmaster Ranger does.
Yeah.
It seems like Wizards is trying to experiment with making pets more useful,
right?
But they didn't want to go too far,
right?
Like if it just had its own initiative order and maybe had a little bit boost to its stats, maybe did a little bit more damage.
Yeah, just increasing a chance to hit and damage.
If it had its own turn and didn't have to use a bonus action, that would help because then you could actually smite and not feel bad about it. I don't know, even if they maybe made it to where the Might of the Master ability that increases its stats over time, if it had level ranges, like at this level it increases by 2 instead of by 1.
Right.
Like if it had like tiers, because they're probably worried about it being too effective early, but then by having them worry about that, it makes it less effective later.
Right.
So it has consequences to it, but it is definitely a very interesting subclass. But we did have to go ahead and give the overall synergy a 2, just because the only synergy that we could really find that really made sense with the base class abilities was your infusions.
Right.
And even at that, the only thing you're going to be doing anyway, because every subclass has access to infusions, obviously, so the only thing that makes it different is you can focus primarily on combat survivability, being up close and personal. You go for your enhanced defenses, enhanced weapons, and then you get like your ring of protection, infusion, copying items,
right?
To try to like increase your armor class, increase your attack hit to chance and damage. But other than that, there's just really not a whole lot to synergize with, just because this is the least spell casting focused subclass of the 3
for sure.
Because it's really trying to get that doggy to be effective, but it's just kind of weird.
Yeah,
I don't really know what the thought.
And I think lackluster is the. It's you see the picture like, oh, this might be interesting.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
It is interesting.
It's still interesting.
It's not super efficient.
Right.
But you know what? If you think about it, D&D really isn't about. I know some people are crazy about min-maxing and stuff, which can be fun to try to break the game. But at the same time, a lot of the fun can be had when you don't optimize.
Yeah.
So just because this doesn't look like it's the most optimized or efficient doesn't mean you shouldn't play it.
No.
If it looks interesting to you and
you give it a shot.
Definitely do it. I'd love to hear some stories because this is very brand new and maybe people can find some things that make it more effective. But I just don't know. Maybe your DM lets you modify the doggy a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I'll have to ask mine.
I'll have to
see what he says.
But other than that, guys, I think that pretty much is going to cover it for this one. Pretty simple. It's very centered around the Steel Defender, for better or worse. But that's just how it is for this one. Definitely very interesting. I do like the pupper. You gotta like the pupper. You have to get the pupper.
He is such a boy.
But that being said,
those are our thoughts on the Battle Smith subclass.
Yes.
The final one of the Artificer. Rolling these out rather quickly. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and check those bell notifications so you make sure you stay up to date with all of our recent videos, guys. And as always,
Thanks
thanks
for
for watching.